think we got to start with the NBA Finals. Game 5 last night. Warriors win by 10 despite an ice-cold Steph Curry night. This is a salt in the wound game for Minnesota fans, Gabe, because Andrew Wiggins was the MVP of the game. He was the star. He might be the second best Warrior in this series, and he's about to become, Gabe, I don't know if you're aware of the local history and trauma. He's about to become the third franchise star to leave the Wolves and win a championship. Garnett, Love, and Wiggins is one game away. Give me your thoughts, NBA Game 5, NBA Finals. What do you think?
Yeah, from your point of how everything worked out for the Warriors last night with Steph not having a good game, Clay finally showing up, Draymond having 8 points, and it felt like 38 points, to Andrew Wiggins being the MVP of that game, I do empathize with Minnesota fans. But I think my biggest takeaway is that we witnessed history last night, right? It's the first time that Steph Curry has not made a three-pointer since 2018 in a game. And I know that's not the history, that the side of history he wants to be on, but the fact that we've seen the greatest shooter in the game have historic nights, night in and night out, and the fact that we watched on the biggest stage of basketball him not have a three, I was like, okay, like I got something to tell my kids. I don't have kids right now, but this is something that we can tell them, because everybody's, I mean, I'm sure our kids are going to go to the gym 10 to 15 years from now and still be calling out Steph Curry. And I can be that guy. I'm like, hey, I was alive and I witnessed the night that he didn't score a three. But I think it's going to be hard for the Celtics to try to close this thing out and win 2 straight. I think if any team could do that against the Warriors, the Celtics could do that. But this Warriors team is battle tested. It's going to be tough to beat those guys twice, one at home and then close them out in Golden State at the Chase Center with that crowd. Good luck. But I can just see Clay at least going for 50 in Game 6. Everybody knows how Game 6 Clay shows up. Like Steph Curry doesn't even have to show up on Game 6. I just think Clay is going to drop 50. Andrew's going to drop 20. Jordan Poole's going to do his thing, and they're just going to win like that. So the fact that they have to guard 4 players now, including Jordan Poole, five players now, and you have to defend 5 players on the court. I think that's going to be tough for this Celtics team, just going down the stretch. And my last point, I said this last night when I was watching the game. The Warriors are only as good as their 4th star on the team. So rewind back to pre-KD, that was Harrison Barnes. When Harrison Barnes had good games. He's from Iowa, right? He's from Iowa, so that's a bordering state.
Yeah. I think so.
Whenever Harrison Smith had a good game, Harrison Barnes had a good game.
Harrison Smith, the hitman.
If Harrison Smith has a good game, all Vikings fans are happy about that. But if Harrison Barnes has a good game, the Warriors won. When KD played well, when KD joined that big three, whenever he had a really big game, they were unbeatable. Now, Andrew Wiggins, whenever Andrew Wiggins puts up points and has a solid game, they ultimately win. So Clay is going to Clay, Steph is going to Steph, Draymond, he's going to give you, a couple of techs and a couple of fouls, and he's going to make a couple of passes. But it's dependent on that 4th star, which is Andrew Wiggins. If Andrew Wiggins has 20-plus points in either Game 6 or Game 7, the Warriors will win. Next point.
All right. Baker Mayfield. He's in this NFL purgatory right now. He's at odds with the Browns. They excused him from minicamp. Well, Dan Graziano of ESPN.com theorized that the Vikings could be a landing spot. He gave 3 landing spots. The Vikings were one of them where Mayfield could go. On a scale of 1 to 10, Gabe, how insane is that suggestion that Baker Mayfield could be a Viking?
I'm going to go 9.5. And I won't say 10 because I don't want to – I never say never because anything can happen. But I just couldn't see Baker Mayfield here as a Viking. Like, why would you need him as a backup quarterback? You don't need that press if you're Kwesi Adolfo-Mensah or Kevin O'Connell. I do think he fits this offense. He does like to improvise a lot. He does like to, pull the ball down and run. He will make contested throws. He will throw guys open. That's something that – Kirk doesn't do as much. Kirk is a little bit more safe. He's not going to fit the ball in tight windows if he doesn't have to. Baker's going to do that regardless. So I don't think that fits his style of play. Kirk Cousins just signed an extension. It's just impossible for that to happen. Like I say, I won't say never, But at the same time, I mean, bringing in a guy in Baker Mayfield, he'll have to learn the offense, figure everything out in a short span just to be the backup. And you got Kellen Mond, who's raising his level of play and is turning heads in training in OTAs and minicamp. I just can't see it happening. I mean, Baker Mayfield, I mean, I don't want to get too far into the deal of everything that's going on in Cleveland with the Deshaun Watson situation, but there's a really good chance if he sticks this thing out, he can be the starter on day one. So I don't think that's happening. He'll be here in Minnesota, but who knows? What about you?
I mean, it's a 9.8 out of 10 on the insane scale. I don't know how you look at the Vikings cap situation and figure out how they're going to absorb that. I mean, if it's a trade, you would have to need a bunch of salary to make that work because Mayfield's on the 5th-year option. You're not going to extend Mayfield when you have Cousins, and Cousins has no trade clause. So, like, there's a very good chance Cousins will be here next year as well. There's a lot of oversight in that question. It got us talking. I think mission accomplished for ESPN, but I don't see how that works. And why would the Vikings voluntarily, like, if you're going to get a new quarterback, you get a rookie. You get someone who's under team control, who's cheap. You don't go, I think, downgrade from Cousins to Mayfield, who's also going to be pretty expensive and doesn't have that upside that a younger quarterback would. So, yep, that's pretty nuts. Any final point on that?
Yeah, I mean, I feel like that comment by Dan Graziano is almost as absurd as Colin Cowherd's comment that the Vikings will be 16-1 this year. I'm like, dude, that's where you insert the Stephen A. stay off the weed. Like you insert that at that point, because it's just like, hold on, like we all hope the Vikings, have a really good season, ultimately win the Super Bowl. But 16-1 and doing that with Baker Mayfield, nah, I'm not with that. That's my last one on that.
How many games did Colin think the Vikings won last year? Like, he had to have been thinking that they were like a 4-win or 5-win team. Yeah, because he never actually said 16. He just said they're going to double their win total. Too bad they weren't 9-8, because then that would have put him at like 18 wins. Last one in the Daily 3. What did I have? Oh, yeah. Give me a player from last year's Vikings roster, Gabe, who is not around anymore, someone who's departed, who they are going to miss the most this season.
I'm going to say Xavier Woods, safety that we signed last year from the Dallas Cowboys, that came in, made plays immediately, was probably the MVP of our defense like the first 6 or 7 games, just always being in the right position at the right times. And the chemistry that he had with our secondary, with Harrison Smith, that is something that we're going to miss. Of course, we know the upside of Lewis Cine is going to be a lot higher than a guy in Xavier Woods. But right now, Xavier Woods can continue to make plays. I know he's in Carolina right now. He's on the Carolina Panthers defense with Jeremy Chin, the safety that they have down there. And I feel like that's going to bode well for that defense. But Xavier Woods, man, he provided a spark for this defense. I know a lot of people say Anthony Barr did too, and Anthony Barr will probably be my second player that we'll miss the most. But Xavier Woods, I think he did a lot of things last year that went unnoticed. There were a couple of laws that happens to everybody during some course in the year. I'm just thinking about the Arizona Cardinals game where Kyler Murray had the breakdown play. He rolled right, rolled left, and then threw it on the run. And I can't think of the receiver's name, but he was open basically 70 yards down the field.
Rondale Moore.
There you go. Yep. So Rondale Moore just looked at Xavier Woods and was like, why are you so far away from me? So Xavier Woods, I think, will be a guy that will be missed heavily on this Vikings defense. I think that will continue to decrease as Lewis Cine gets more confidence in this defense, but we're going to miss that guy. What about you?
Yeah, I know injuries were an issue with this guy, but Michael Pierce, I mean, Harrison Phillips coming in is a nice replacement, but Michael Pierce just has such unique size that he can do things physically that no one else can. And I would have loved to see him anchoring the 3-4. I just think that Pierce in that role could have thrived. And I know there's always the injury risk with him, but we unfortunately didn't get to see much Michael Pierce. Like, he signed that 3-year deal, in 2020, and you thought, all right, this is our anchor for 3 years. You got about 10 games, right? The COVID season and then kind of injury plague last year. Had good flashes, had good moments, and I think in a different scheme, he might have been able to thrive. I know he wasn't quite the run stopper that they hoped last year, but I think I would still have liked to see him again.
Yeah, that would have been great having him back. I totally understand the business aspect of, if a guy's not available, you don't want to spend that money on him. And I'm glad he's found a home, or didn't have to sell his home in Baltimore, and he's finally a Baltimore Raven again. So I'm glad he didn't have to go too far of a change, but he definitely would have been a staple in this 3-4 defense for the Minnesota Vikings. Just his explosion, his power, his speed, his strength. That would have served us well. But I think Harrison Smith, see, there's so many Harrisons. So I'm just going to start just saying Harrison 3, but
Harrison Hand.
Yeah, Harrison Hand, Harrison Smith, Harrison Phillips. But you look at that and you just say, okay, well, this is a guy in Harrison Phillips who's proven to be solid if you give him the opportunity to play. He was in Buffalo the last 4 seasons. They were top 3 defense through the last 4 seasons. So I think we got a really good acquisition on this D line. But if you could have mixed him with Michael Pierce and a Dalvin Tomlinson, oh my gosh, that would have been a sight to see. But we'll see how this thing works out. Hopefully this defense will, make another step in the right direction. I mean, they have to. They were, second worst in almost every category. So if they're 30th this year, that's a step in the right direction. So we'll see how this thing works out. And hopefully Michael Pierce has a really good year in Baltimore this year.